This is a first for me. I have never introduced a professional Australian rules footballer before, so that's kind of cool. But he also has a banking background. I actually understand that myself. While he was here studying business in the city, he saw space in the market for Melbourne-style coffee experience, and that led him to opening up Bluestone Lane Coffee. And today he'll be talking about disrupting for growth. Please welcome Nick Stone.
Sure, it's working. Hear me? Everyone hear me? Yeah. Okay. I've got a really tough spot, right? The last one before the mid-afternoon break, you're probably all dying for coffee. So what we might do is everyone stand up quickly. Yeah. So everyone up. Oh, that's good. Good. Yeah. Hello. Yeah, that's it. Up we go. I want you to turn to the person on your left. And I want you to play rock, paper, scissors, best of three. And if you lose, sit down. Okay. Let's go. The good news is I'm a really engaging speaker. So the next 20 minutes we'll talk a bit about the Bluestone Lane journey and my background. And, it's pretty non-traditional for coffee. I had no experience at all. But we've created something we feel pretty special, and it's probably the fastest growing specialty brand in New York. And I think we've got a really good chance to grow at a faster level over the next 5 years. Bad news about this, the end of this session is we're not serving Bluestone Lane at the break. So I know that there's a few people here that are pretty fastidious about their coffee and got pretty decently trained palates. But anyway, so again, my name is Nicholas Stone, the founder and CEO of Bluestone. We launched our first store in mid-2013, and I'd like to introduce you to Bluestone now.
In a city that never sleeps, a melting pot of cultures, influences and ideas, is there any room for a little bit of Melbourne coffee culture? Monash business graduate Nick Stone certainly thought so. While furthering his studies in Manhattan, Nick had to pitch a business idea. His initial thought was to ride the digital wave, but by thinking outside the square, this idea was replaced by a bricks and mortar concept. His pitch idea turned into a reality, and Bluestone Lane Coffee, a Melbourne-style cafe and lifestyle brand, was born. Bluestone Lane has grown in 3 short years with 12 successful locations across New York and Philadelphia. It just goes to show how homegrown ideas can brew into something much, much bigger.
When I moved to New York, I couldn't believe how much I missed the Melbourne coffee experience. New York is so big, full of so many people, so much intensity. I thought, wouldn't it be amazing if we could create a community where a place recognises your face, your name, your order, where you feel like it's your local, it's your home. We started small, a little hole in the wall in Midtown. We wanted to see how the coffee experience would be embraced the Australian way, and with a bit more confidence, we grew the menu, grew the size of the store, and now we're at 12 locations in New York. We've partnered with Marc Jacobs and LVMH. We've done events with The Economist, events with SoulCycle, and we've been part of amazing festivals like Fall New York Fashion Week, and in fact, we've actually opened a store on Fifth Avenue in a church next to Central Park.
I wanna know what it means to be on your side. Sunshine on the the four elements: quality product, food and coffee and tea, customer experience, personal service, the environment aesthetic, and then all that intangible connection, so people feel like it's theirs, it's their local, and they get that really deep sense of loyalty.
I think people now want more from their coffee experience. They want more than just a transactional oriented commodity product. Just come chill, enjoy the experience, take the time, enjoy the product, and just escape.
Okay, so that's Bluestone Lane. Despite my height, I feel like I'm a small guy at this conference because there's a lot of established players, but we're new and we've grown in a bit of a non-traditional way. I'm from Melbourne, and I often refer to Melbourne as the Silicon Valley of premium coffee culture. In my humble opinion, of course I'm not conflicted, and I'm purely objective, but I think the consistency you find in a general cafe or coffee shop in Melbourne is unprecedented in the world because they focus on those four elements that are referred to in the video. Quality product, coffee, complimentary food, sophisticated, healthy, clean, nutritious, really thoughtful aesthetic in an environment where people feel like they escape. And fourth, that intangible, that level of customer service, I think, that Starbucks certainly pioneered, say in the 90s. I think it's going to the next level, and when people get an ego boost in the morning when they walk in, they love our staff, our team, recognising their face, knowing their order, asking about their day. And what was so incredible, and so strange to me when I moved to the US, is people knew their local dry cleaners, they knew their bars, they had all this community outside their apartment, because to be honest, most people don't spend any time in their apartment in Manhattan. It's like 300 square feet, it costs too much. But we knew that we wanted to create that Bluestone Lane and feel like you are the cool guy at the bar, or you're looking fantastic in your high heels if you're about to go out as a woman. So that's what we really focused on. So my background, I had no retail experience, no coffee experience, never worked at a coffee shop, know anything about it, and no hospitality experience. I've been a professional sportsman for 6 years and investment banker or international banker for 12, and that's how I made my way to New York. So I guess you're all asking, why did I start Bluestone Lane? Why did I dive into this industry with all its idiosyncrasies and the labour-intensive model of a retail or a lifestyle-oriented retail brand, and leave behind a really cushy corporate job, right? Working as a banker in the US, yes, been tough for the last 5 years, but geez, it's a pretty handy living if you can get there. But it really boils down to this, and it's what we describe in Australia as getting coffee. Getting coffee. Getting coffee in Australia meant to me, it was my daily respite as a banker. I would go talk with a colleague, just escape. Coffee shop, barista, the owner would recognise my face, know my order. I'd talk about anything else other than work, and it was just an escape. It wasn't about getting a caffeine product and a transactional experience, and I need to get wine, I need to get, stay up all night to work. It was much, much more than that. And on the weekend, it was going with my wife and having 2 coffees, latte in a glass, flat white and porcelain, food, delicious, nutritional, healthy, wholesome food, and reading the papers back to front. Because in Melbourne, that's what the coffee experience is. That's what it is. That's what it is now in Sydney, in all major cities in Australia. But that's what I was interested in. Because I'm not a coffee geek. And I will never be a coffee geek. It's me. Unashamedly, I'm not a coffee geek. But what I am is I'm an experience geek. And I'll forever be an experience geek. And that's what we're trying to focus on at Bluestone Lane. So, what's Bluestone all about? Other than trying to change people's perceptions on what a premium coffee or cafe experience is, building a scalable lifestyle model, and we've been very deliberate about that. 13 stores, we're building another 8 at the moment, all within 3 years, brand new brand on the scene, grown and funded via homegrown methods, big private equity firm backing us, haven't used all my investment banking contacts in that attribute. It's really been sort of bootstrapped, friends and family. And thirdly, obviously, the economics, thanks to Mr. Schultz and what he's pioneered with Starbucks. What we do at Bluestone Lane is a simple thing. We help people. That's all we do. We help people. We help our customers. We help our staff. We have a bit different staff model to the traditional incumbents in coffee. Most of our staff are college graduates. Most of our staff are highly technical, proficient individuals with a skilled trade. And we talked about those mega trends, the barista and the role of innovation and creativity. We've got them in our team, and if they don't have the skills when they walk in, we've got a team that spends hours, tens of hours, focusing on their training. And then thirdly, we make a difference to communities. And ultimately, what we aim to do, what our mission statement is to make a difference to our locals' daily ritual every day. That's what we're here for. Make that difference every day. As soon as we fail to do that and stop doing that, we're going to be another mediocre concept in a highly competitive, saturated, commoditized market that really, it's really not that important, I don't think. Right? Because it is incredibly commoditized product and everyone serves coffee, you can get it from everywhere. But we're not going to focus on that. So in 3 years, 13 stores, 8 opening. So what do I think we've done different? What do I think we've done differently to many of the other brands we see out there, or the many sole proprietors, which is the independent cafe way in Australia and still globally, which is one guy, barista, builds a store, operates in it, works every day, 7 days a week, and scrapes out a living and enjoys it. But what have we done differently to grow so quickly with a brand position at probably top 5%, I would say, in New York City? First and foremost, we're really passionate. I think you can tell that from how I'm sort of speaking. We're really passionate. We've got an incredible team. We're humble, yet very bold. We're analytical. We use data for everything we do. We have meetings each week about the data. But we back ourselves when the signals are right, and we go for it. We have a very unique team with diverse skills that add a lot of objectivity, innovation, scrutiny, all to drive high performance. And if you think about our composition of the team, it was interesting before the gentleman referred to Nike and Phil Knight. Has anyone read Shoe Dog out here? Shoe Dog? Heard about Shoe Dog? Anyway, if you haven't read it, that's the tip of the day. That's one thing you can take from my presentation. Shoe Dog is the biography by Phil Knight, founder, CEO of Nike, pretty important guy in the world of brands. And he talks about his team. His team, well, he refers to them as butt faces. And that's Johnson and Woodell. We've got our own team there. Very complementary skills, but only one coffee expert. We have experts in different areas, and we created that from day one because we wanted to build a scalable foundation. So we brought in real estate expertise from day one. We focused with other retail brands. We brought in a CFO who worked in another industry that was also financial controller at Cafe Sydney. just very, very complementary, diverse skills. We didn't just go coffee-centric and try to do it that way. We looked at it as a product and a service, and we put together a very unique composition of team, which I think adds a tremendous amount of scrutiny on activity, and you can make decisions very quickly. And when you've made the right decision, you double down on it, and when you make the wrong decision, you fail fast and get out of there and restructure. As I've mentioned, so we're focused on premium, immersive experiences. We're not about transactional. We're not about commoditized. And if I think about the three key factors that have helped us the most, I think firstly, my background being non-traditional to certainly coffee shops or cafes. I don't know why it's worked out this way, but I think it's benefited us because I looked at it differently. I looked at the market position differently. I looked at the industry a little bit differently because I had no emotional attachment to it. And I was uninformed. I had to build everything from the start. I certainly looked at cost structures very differently and how to pivot and how to make a store an amenity rather than sort of compete with all the big guys. Look at branding very differently. We're never about one store. We're always about how fast can we get to the 20 stores and how can we make the brand the most aspirational for our customer in New York City. And ultimately, if the brand is validated in New York City, that is so scalable to Asia, that is so scalable to other cities in the US, that is so scalable for the Middle East, Europe, what have you. Because New York is the biggest brand. It is the biggest brand the world's ever known, NYC. Secondly, we're focused on a lifestyle brand, not a coffee shop, not a coffee brand. Because I think when you look at brands, you look with a different lens, a more strategic lens. You think about where you're going to position in 5, 10, 20 years' time, not am I going to still be operating in 6 months' time? Can I pay my $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 a month rent check? How many copies is that? I think you start thinking more strategically, which brands do I want to be aligned with, which partners, how can I be more aspirational? How can I grow faster through non-traditional means? And one of the other strategies we employed, focusing on building a lifestyle brand, is we thought building a brand is more important than building a roastery. We don't roast our own beans. Most of our peers, they all roast, they do it well, they spend a lot of money getting it going, and a lot of my insights in meeting all the roasters are like, yeah, roasting, it seems so elusive and sexy, but for the first 3 years it was just hell. It was the worst thing, trying to build our customer base. Losing all this money, we paid all these people, it was a nightmare, but it's good now. And I was like, well, so the US market, the independent way, it's pretty embryonic, huge growth potential. The independent shop, there's really not that many shops to sell to, even if you do have a great wholesale capability. So what happens if I had a great retail business, and I already had 20, 30 stores, I could underwrite my roaster pretty easily, right? I just can produce for myself, de-risk myself, not lose $1 million, $2 million, focused on building a brand. So that was secondly. Thirdly, I think one I talked about before, recruiting people, the way that we've been able to attract talent from different fields, different experiences, I do think provide a unique advantage for us because we've got people who are the best in their particular silo and gel them together, who all became addicts of the experience we provide, which is fantastic. So when I think about the future, we're very, very excited. And I think it's great that John and Jeff, you talked about a lot of the thematics and the mega trends, and I think I'm very glad that we're aligned and we can grow it. Otherwise I would have exited and just played the video and walked out. But I think we're really on the money there, and our thoughts are aligned. I think premiumization, I think cold brew, I think ready to drink, I think what the millennials are after, I think sophisticated food, I think immersive experiences, I think anything that is commodity and anything that's easily accessible and not aspirational is not relevant to a millennial. A millennial, yes, everyone says, millennials, you don't even need to worry about it, or it's just a label. But there's two things with millennials you got to remember. One, it's the biggest demographic in the US, 90 million of 320 million. That's one. So that's good. You've got weighted numbers behind you. Influence. Millennial influence is 100x on any other demographic that existed, that has walked this planet. 100 times more influential. When they have a good experience, what do? Put it on social. They use Yelp, they use Instagram, they use Facebook, they use Twitter. It's so powerful. So how much money, and the marketing directors here, Andy, you won't like this, but when I talk about like marketing spend, and we've got some great partnerships, we've been really fortunate. We spent zero on marketing. Zero. And it's really been through means like social that have driven all the awareness. We knew it was word of mouth. That's the authenticity of a brand. We don't need to throw it at people, tell them that you have to go because we're cool, we're making slushies, we've got sugar in our drinks, all that crap. We were focused on creating amazing experiences, which will then translate from that local telling another local, hey, you should go to Bluestone, or hey, doesn't this look fantastic? Or hey, you create dishes with a lot of thought about the plating, which makes it really Instagrammable. So for us, we don't use an agency. I've been doing this for the last sort of like year and then 2 years, and my wife did it for a while, and now the coffee director's doing it, and we've got 12,500. And most of our stores to begin with were in high density areas, not sexy, in the bottom of lobbies of buildings where we knew that we could, capture that stability of the customer every day. But they weren't like big, sexy Fifth Avenue Nespresso flagships and all that sort of stuff. They were thoughtful, but that's really helped us grow tremendously. So I guess in closing, before we take some questions, we really think that this has got a long way to go. That's a great news for all of us. That the experience wave is so embryonic in the US. Yes, coffee's out there, and yes, especially coffee's going to grow. But I think the great quality experiences where it's food, premium coffee, amazing thoughtful aesthetic, sincere and personal customer service, and the intangible is very embryonic. And it's very inconsistent. It's very inconsistently applied across New York, let alone the US, right? I think that's great. We think technology is going to play a huge role. When we have Speedy Tab in Dumbo, we're seeing how technology is playing in Australia. Pre-order capability is everywhere in Australia. We're going to bring that in as fast as possible, and we're making some adjustments to the business to capture more data-driven analysis and feedback, which I think is really important. So I think that's a great one. And we also think that technology is going to play a massive role in how people engage with brands and how they receive their product or service or experience. So we're constantly focused on that, and we spend a lot of time working out, are our customers really going to come to the cafe in 2 years' time? Or do they want delivered by a drone or something unusual? But I think that's really important for us as an industry, and we've seen it with product launches and new concepts over the last 20 to 30 decades, like Starbucks, which was just phenomenal in introducing, commercialising espresso, and brands like Nespresso and what they were able to do with catch market. So, in grand finale, great news is that we think that this is really embryonic, and we've got a lot of years, and I think the New York Coffee Festival, and you'll see that translate in New York Coffee Festival attendance. I think it's just going to double every year over the next 5, 10, 20 years, especially when you look at how sophisticated the Australian market is across all those premium elements. And I think technology is going to play a huge role, and I think the power of the millennial, and which is really exciting. When I was in data about millennials that they like espresso-based milk drinks, which is great. I think when you talk about the success of every beverage that we've talked about today, cold brew, Dunkin' Donuts, nothing has been as successful as the flat white on the Starbucks menu. That's the greatest product innovation they've had for 5 years. That is the #1 dog out there. So we're really excited, and thanks for the opportunity, and happy to take any questions.
So, Adam Page, two-part question. One was, you're attracting the best people. How are you going about doing that? I know you said you have a lot of sophisticated people, but are you paying them? Do they have a share in the business? Just very curious about how you approach that, especially in a market like New York. The second part was, are you making money?
Okay. First part. Second part's really easy. First part, the brand attracts people. We attract people who want to work at the top echelon. They want to work at the best. And it's just like any other industry. So I think we're getting talent walking the door that way. Secondly, we do pay more than everyone else. Because we don't focus on absolute pay rates. We focus on productivity. And we measure productivity. We know who's the most productive. And in Australia, that was a great lesson. In Australia, there's not really delineation of roles in a cafe. Everyone does everything. Server is the barista, can be back of house, and maybe have a smash. And that skill set, dexterity, is really important, and that's what we're trying to introduce in Bluestone Lane. So that makes the staff more productive than just having a server that can't jump on the machine, we can't make a smash. So there's two. So there's two things. One, yes, we play because we've got a different cost structure, we pay more. Two, and on an absolute basis, two, that they're still as productive as paying someone less and having more people. So that's great. Second question, yes, we are profitable. We funded all business off cash flow, other than friends and family. Revenues, double digits. It's exceeded my expectations. We're trying to focus on average unit of 1 to 1.2 million per store. So it's where we want it to be. We don't want it to be too small. We don't want it to be too big. So.
Any other questions in the room? I'll ask one. Regardless of the position that you're hiring for in each location, do you prefer to hire experienced or would you rather hire inexperienced people? And if so, which one do you spend more time training?
With hiring, the most important thing is really, there's two elements. One, that they're hospitality professional. That's where we see massive attrition rates, where they like want to be a barista but actually want to be a banker or work in law or be a marketing person. So we focus first of all hospitality professionals, and we hire people who want to base their career around this, and we provide career and professional and financial opportunities which makes it sustainable to work in the hospitality industry without serving alcohol, working in nightclubs and bars. So really, and then the second element is really just values, aligned values. Deep care, good person, works hard, understands the fundamentals. We've got some core values around being impeccable with your word, no excuses, consistency, focus on high performance. So they're really intangible skills, and we find that we have some staff that have never made coffee, and we can put them through our training program and get them up to working in Bryant Park, which is our most intense store. Serves 1,500, 2,000 coffees a day, espresso. And then we have people who come from Starbucks. We're getting a huge amount from Starbucks. We're getting teams coming because they want to work at the top end. They want to work on a semi-automatic machine, or they want to have more control and more sophistication. They're more interested in the industry, and they don't want to be in the transactional story. They want to develop key relationships, and they want to work where a brand has aspirational elements, and customers will walk and they talk about it, they brag about it, they walk around the cup with some pride, and they also are interested in the food element. So.
Question over here.
Hi Nick, I'm Simon Reid from St Alley, Melbourne, and well done. Been watching your progress. It's been Instagram worthable. It's been good. Enjoyed it. I've got a couple of questions for you that haven't been in the game for a while, and understanding cost structures a little bit. On 12 stores, I've got three questions, three-part question. First question is, what is your occupancy costs as a percentage or square metre rate, or whatever you want to relate it? With a management team in place, so CFOs and so forth, how does that translate into EBIT, if any? I mean, there's a lot of overhead costs there. And the third question, what is your capital expenditure per store, and is that subsidised by landlord contributions?
Sounds like quite loaded questions, Salvatore. I'm sure you're opening coffee shops in here. Okay. Got the full business plan? Listen, I'll scratch the surface because I think you got to follow your own journey, find out, get your own battle scars. But you guys have been the best. You guys have been the best for a long time in Melbourne, and I've always admired Soundland, what you guys have done. But certainly, like occupancy costs, 8 to 12% revenue. That's where you want to be. When we look at corporate overheads, we exclude it from four-wall, which is really standalone how the store's performing. That's how we really report it, and we have statutory reporting, needed data than existing. But we do it at four-wall, and then costs. It just depends. Like we've got cafes, and then we have small hole-in-the-walls. I think it's all about being creative. Sometimes the costs are incredibly prohibitive because you're dealing with a landlord that owns a building that's worth $1 billion and it's union, and they are so protective of anything, and they're used to having Starbucks in there or McDonald's or some massive multi-billion-dollar brand that spends more than anyone to get it open. And I think you've got to be creative. One way that we've done it is with prefab, and I think we're going to continue to accelerate prefab because it's very difficult, I see, to open a store a month or 2 stores a month without prefabbing in this market, where this is New York, where it's highly regulated. There's department buildings, there's a lot of permitting, there's a lot of landlord approval. So in regarding tenant incentive, it's been very minimal at this stage because we don't take big sites. I think if you take 10,000 square feet, you get a lot of TI. But when you only take 500, 200, landlord, it's not of interest to them to really give you an incentive. Yeah.
I've got a question. I'm not conflicted either here. Obviously, I think some of the appeal of your stores is the great Aussie charm that you created. Have you come up? I mean, is this going to be a barrier to your growth? I know you looked at sort of fundamental human characteristics that you require, but as you scale up, are you still going to be an Aussie brand, or what would it be?
Yeah, we'll always remain an Australian brand because that's the authenticity of the brand comes from Melbourne. But in regards to employee US versus Australian citizens, that balance. What we find in the cafes is that currently we're 50-50, but cafes are one of every 4 stores we build. So we have a hub and spoke model, and in the coffee shops it's 80-20, 80 domestic US citizens and 20% Australian. But we're seeing more and more that it's really New Yorkers who've been working or interested in the industry that are joining us. That'd be right, Jai. For example, Bryant Park, which probably has our largest coffee shop, busiest store, does not have an Australian worker in there. So it's something I was really paranoid about as well. But I think with time, we've evolved and we've resourced, and guess what? Australians have a great skill set, but they're also very interested in travelling a lot, partying a lot. They want to go back to Australia, they don't want to be here. You can't get visas for Australians to work in coffee other than if they're students. And instead of going to Whistler or instead of going to Vail to work on a ski lift or as an au pair, they come to New York and use some of the skills, and that's helped us. But it's not sustainable, and we've never built a business around it. Yeah. And then partners, the executive team in Australia is 50. There's a few Australians, there's Canadian, Americans, there's someone from the UK. It's diversified for that reason.
All right. Thank you so much. 2-minute break, grab a cup of coffee.